All right, boys, we are back. We have a brand new YouTube video here for predictions, and it's going to be for the Champions League. That's right. We are going to be doing Champions League predictions for Match Week 8, also known as the final match day. We're going to be having chaos. Every single match is going to be happening at the same time. For the sake of this video, to kind of keep it a little bit more compact and not have it go to like, an hour and a half, 2 hours, because I could talk about Champions League teams for hours and hours and hours. If you want to hear all that talk, go to the Twitch stream. But for here, I'm going to be doing the predictions where I'm going to go into the match, analyze it a little bit and then give the prediction with a little synopsis of it. So instead of doing it like my Premier League predictions where you'll see me go into the game, go look at the odds, go look at the forum, kind of debate, kind of think about it and give the prediction, in this video, I'll kind of do that off of the video, and then I'll come into the video and kind of give you a little summary for each game and why I predicted the score with just like a couple of sentences, right? Because I think I want to make this video kind of still more detailed than like a TikTok or a YouTube short, but I still want to keep it on the shorter side just so people can kind of, digest the video pretty easily. If you guys haven't already, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel, like the video, please comment down below what your predictions are, who you're thinking pulls off the upset, who do you think sneaks into the top 24, the top 8. I want to hear all of it in the comment section below. It's just very entertaining for me to read the comments, watch the matches, and see who was right and who was wrong. Let's get to the Champions League predictions. Ajax and Olympiacos is our first match here, and right away I looked at the odds just to kind of give me an idea of where we were at. Here I saw 2.3 for Olympiacos, 2.9 for Ajax. I still think Ajax are coming off one of the most insane upsets of the tournament in my eyes, right? Not by the odds, but by my eyes. I really thought there was no chance they would get a result here or even get the win, so them getting a win against Villarreal was massive for just maybe a chance to get to the next round here. If they get 9 points, I still don't think it's going to be enough, but on the off chance, I mean, there's something here to play for Ajax at least. On the flip side, Olympiacos is also, kind of hanging on for dear life at the bottom of the top 24 here. I think the hardest part about Olympiacos and how to judge them is they've played 3 teams away from home. They've played Kairat, who we don't think is that good, right? But then they played Barcelona and Arsenal. So I feel like Barca, Arsenal, and Kairat is not a great way to decide, if they're good or not away from home in Champions League. For this match, though, I saw both teams' score was very, very low. So, I mean, I think Ajax will probably score at home here. But I think I'm going to lean Olympiacos. I feel like just, the Champions League experience in the last couple of years, just European experience, I should say, not just Champions League, European experience in the last couple of years here, I think will make me favor Olympiacos more. I think they go into Ajax, and I think they get the win. So for Ajax Olympiacos, I'm going with a 1-2 win for Olympiacos. Next, we have Arsenal and Kairat. After analyzing the odds for a little bit, you guys can already imagine I'm going with Arsenal to win 2-0. I tried to decide how I wanted to approach how many goals Arsenal got. The line is set at 3.5. I do think Kairat is not like terrible, right? They're not going to win matches, but I think they have enough pride. They play with enough defensive structure that they shouldn't let a team just to completely destroy them here. So I was back and forth between 3-0 and 4-0, but for Arsenal and Kairat, I'm going to go with an Arsenal 3-0 win over Kairat Almaty. Athletic Bilbao and Sporting is our next match here. I think for this one, it's a little bit tricky, right? Because we have Athletic Bilbao that are hanging on to a top 24 spot, and then Sporting is kind of pushing for that top 8 spot. So both teams have something to play for, but one team is desperate, one team is not desperate. Athletic Bilbao is sitting at 2.2 on the 1x2. Sporting was about 3.6, which could be interesting, right? If someone looks at Sporting and they think, oh, Sporting just beat PSG, Athletic Bilbao just beat Atalanta away, which result is better? PSG just lost to Sporting. How could we ever not think that Sporting wins this match? But with that being said, I think that is kind of why I'm feeling an Athletic Bilbao result here. So in my head, I was trying to decide either a like 1-1 draw or like a 2-1 or a 2-0 win for Bilbao here. And the one thing I wanted to show you guys was the both teams' score markets at 1.62, which makes me feel like both teams are scoring. And I think the trickiest thing that I'm trying to decide still up to this point is Athletic Bilbao to win 2-1 or a 1-1 draw. For Athletic Bilbao and Sporting, I'm going to just stick with a 1-1 draw in this match. If Athletic Bilbao wins, I could see it, but I think Sporting away from home, I think they're going to be trying. I think what's going to end up happening is Bilbao go up 1-0 and then Sporting are chasing, or Sporting go up 1-0 and Bilbao are chasing, but I just feel like neither team gets the win here and it ends in a draw. Atletico Madrid and Boda is our next match here in the Champions League. I'm going to keep this one simple. As much as I wanted to talk about, Boda and their masterclass performance on the artificial turf against Manchester City, I think it's very clear what the books are telling us here. We have Atletico Madrid at 1.25, and I think that's for good reason. Atletico Madrid at home, they are going to be pushing for a top 8 spot here, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, if they get on 16 points, you just don't know how far up you can get, especially with teams dropping points. Some teams above them may not get a win. So I do think Atletico Madrid are going to be pushing for the win. They are 1.25 to win. total is about 3.5. I do actually surprisingly think Bo to score. I think 1.57 is not the craziest prediction by me, but I think a lot of people might be not thinking Boda can score in this match. I think at some point they will have a little bit of pride at the end of the game here, and I think Atletico Madrid win this match, and I think they win 3-1. So 3-1 Atletico Madrid. Next, we have Barcelona and FC Copenhagen. I do think this match should be pretty straightforward for Barcelona here. They are massive, massive, massive favorites. They are at home. Now, I have seen the talk about Barcelona potentially throwing this match so they can have an easier draw. I think it's in the quarterfinals or semifinals, whatever it was. I saw some random video of someone talking about how if they lose this match, they can potentially avoid Arsenal or Bayern Munich in the Champions League in the quarterfinals or something like that. I don't know if any of that's true. I just predict what's put in front of me here. If Barca want to throw this match at home, that'd be crazy. I don't think they're going to do that personally. I mean, when you put these professional footballers on the pitch on a Wednesday night and the music starts playing, I think all that nonsense, goes out the window and they want to play 100% for the win. So for this match, I went with a 4-1 Barcelona win. I think the hardest part was deciding if Copenhagen get a goal or not. The one thing that made me want to go for a Copenhagen goal was the fact that Barca looked pretty suspect on some of those set pieces. So maybe Copenhagen get a nice, corner and they end up putting it in at the very end of the match or something like that. So I'm going to go with Barca 4-1 over Copenhagen. Next match we have is Bayer Leverkusen Villarreal. I didn't spend too much time on this one. I kind of figured Villarreal being out of the tournament, they'd probably be more focused on facing whoever they're facing on the weekend in La Liga. And then on top of that, we have Bayer Leverkusen, who could really push the envelope here. They are just on the border here, so a result is going to be needed and probably a win to feel pretty safe, right? I would imagine even a draw, they could be okay, but why take that chance if you're Leverkusen? So for this match, Leverkusen and Villarreal, I'm going with a 3-0 Leverkusen win. Benfica versus Real Madrid is our next match here. And looking at this match, I can kind of dig into it a little bit more. We have Madrid here at 1.7 to win the match. We have both teams to score at 1.53, and we have the total right around 3.5. So I do feel like the books are kind of expecting a spicy match here, and it does make sense because if you look at the table, you have Benfica, who are on the outside looking in. Anything short of a win, they are not going to get through to the top 24. And then you have Madrid, who are pretty much looking for, I would say, just a result here to kind of hold their place in the top 8. But you look at the teams behind them, and they could, in theory, drop out. But I think all these teams getting a win behind them and them losing is probably the only way that happened. I'm pretty sure if they stay on 16 points, they should be okay. So I was kind of thinking about how I want to approach this match, right? Do I feel like Benfica could get the win at home? Do I feel like the result is more likely? And I actually do feel like this match is going to look like either team's going to win until the end, right? So I'm feeling a spicy draw, and the only type of realistic spicy draw I could see this match would be a Benfica Real Madrid 2-2 draw. And my main reasoning is I think both teams are going to push for the win, but I think both teams pushing for the win doesn't always mean just simply win. So 2-2 draw, but I would say if either of these teams wins, obviously I would think Madrid has more likely of a chance to win, but for the sake of the prediction, 2-2 draw. Next we have Club Brugge and Marseille, and I looked at the odds here and it was pretty interesting to see that Club Brugge were 2.88, Marseille was 2.35. Over under as expected at 3, pretty spicy match. I think they have loading here, and then the both teams score is 1.5, so nothing really surprises me here. I think looking at the table, we're going to see Club Brugge on the outside looking in. Anything short of a win, as we know, would not get them in. Also, Marseille probably need a result at least to stay safe. I don't think they're going to want to BS though, and they're probably going to want to push for the win, but I know it's pretty obvious every team's kind of pushing for the win. No team is probably going to take any, any like relaxing type of match here. Everyone wants to win. I just keep saying it kind of just to reinforce it for people who may not, who are maybe interested in knowing like where everyone has, where's everyone at in the table. For me, this match is more about what I think about Club Brugge and Marseille, and I think there is this general consensus of people liking Marseille, thinking they're a better team in Europe. Club Brugge probably doesn't get as much love as Marseille just because they're outside the top 5 leagues. I do think Club Brugge at home, though, in Champions League, we probably shouldn't dismiss them. Yes, they lost to Arsenal, but other than that, I mean, they drew Barcelona and they absolutely destroyed Monaco here. And I think with them showing this idea of them having faced Barcelona, them facing Arsenal, Monaco, not one of the worst teams, right, in this competition. So I think Club Brugge has experience facing good teams at home here, and I think they can actually get the win. So for Club Brugge and Marseille, I'm going to go with kind of a more crazy result just based on public perception of these teams, but I'm going to go with the 2-1 Brugge win, but I'm more thinking about Brugge result here, right? But I'm going with a Club Brugge 2-1 win over Marseille. Borussia Dortmund versus Inter Milan is the next match here in the Champions League, and I think people kind of know me and Dortmund at this point. If you're brand new to the channel, brand new to watching me, I'm a big Dortmund fan, but I don't ever really predict them to win. It's kind of me just not really seeing the vision on it most times. And this is one of those matches, right? Like, I have to go into this match thinking Dortmund winning is just, it just doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't make sense to me. Even with them being at home, I feel like the best they can do against Inter Milan is a draw here. So without, you know, overdoing it, because like I said, I'm biased, I'm a fan, I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. I do think looking at the table here was kind of my big, like, help. I think looking at the table here, both teams having a draw, they probably go through. Inter Milan coming off 3 losses here could still probably maybe push for a top 8 spot if they just win and get on 15 points, but I still don't think that'll be enough for them. So I think both teams, I wouldn't say take it easy, but I do think maybe a slower match, both teams trying to find, you know, feel each other out. This is more of like a feel each other out type of match, and then they probably get into it. It is the final match day though, so if there were crazy goals here, I guess I wouldn't be totally surprised, but the way the odds are set up, it's just making me think like, you know, 2.5 is 1.73, which is one of the lower numbers of the match day, but both teams to score is 1.57. So it just makes me think 1-1 draw. So Dortmund, Inter Milan, 1-1 draw. Eintracht Frankfurt and Tottenham is our next match here. We see Frankfurt at 4.2 on the 1x2. We have Tottenham surprisingly at 1.8, but I think if I check the table, it'll be pretty apparent on why that is. And it looks like the books are fully expecting Frankfurt to probably rotate their squad or to not care about this match. It's the first time I would say looking at odds kind of told me that. And it is pretty obvious. I mean, you know, we have Tottenham here in the top 5. A win for Tottenham put them for sure in the top 8. I mean, then they would be pushing maybe, you know, the 3rd spot even, right, depending on how you know, Madrid and Liverpool end up here. So I think this will be a pretty straightforward prediction for me. If Tottenham don't win this match against a rotated Frankfurt team, that could be pretty crazy there. I don't know what they're planning to do with Thomas Frank is. I mean, I got Tottenham fans in my DMs telling me they want Frank out, but they may want to, you know, so we'll see how that ends up after this match here. The over under is at about 2.75, maybe closes at 3. I'm going to try to keep this to a very generic prediction. I do think Frankfurt still scores a goal at home, but I think Tottenham get the win here. So Tottenham and Frankfurt, I'm going to go with a 2-1 Tottenham win. Liverpool versus Karabakh is our next match here in the Champions League final match day. I looked at this match and I really tried to get myself to do something positive for Karabakh here. I've actually been backing Karabakh in a lot of matches, and they have been delivering, especially when they're at home. But I think going into Anfield and a Liverpool team that would like to get back on the right foot, this could get a little ugly for Karabakh. I'm thinking the total set at 3.5. Both teams score set at 2.1. Could I see Karabakh scoring? Yes. For the prediction standpoint, though, no. Probably not scoring for the prediction standpoint here. I was in between a 3-0 win and a 4-0 win. Normally, I would say when odds are this low for a team, I like to stay one under the total, and I think I'm going to roll with that. I was very close to going 4-0, but I think Liverpool just sneak out a 3-0 win. The total stays under. The both teams to score doesn't come in, and Liverpool fans are happy. And let's see where they would go out in the table, how high they could reach up. Yeah, I mean, they just want to stay in the top 8 here, so a nice win. They want to make sure they have tiebreakers. 3-0 or 4-0 I think is pretty solid here, but for the sake of the prediction, I'm going to go with a Liverpool 3-0 win over Karabakh. Manchester City and Galatasaray is the next match here. We have City at 1.22, Galatasaray at 11 odd to win. Doesn't surprise me. The both teams' scores at 1.7. A little bit surprising because I guess they're giving some respect to, you know, Galatasaray. They got Sane, Osimhen. I don't think anyone's injured or not playing in this match. That's super important for them now. They have a pretty good lineup here. Now, for City's side, they're going to be missing a lot of guys. They're missing Rodri here. They're not going to have Semenyo because I don't think Semenyo and Guehi can play because they're not registered. Vardiol injured still. Is Ruben Diaz going to play for them? Okay, no. Ruben Diaz is out as well. So that's an issue. They're going to still have that kind of that weird back line here. But I think with City being in the table at 11th here, a nice win could kind of propel them up in the top 8, which I think they're for sure going for here. And I think the one match I keep thinking about for Galatasaray is not this this Frankfurt match. I feel like this is going to be very close to how the Frankfurt match went, where it's like Galatasaray might just get shown levels here, but might still score a goal of their own. I'm actually very close with the same prediction here, maybe just one goal short, but I'm going to go for a Manchester City Galatasaray 4-1 win for Manchester City. Monaco and Juventus is our next match here, and this one was tough. I looked at this one for a few minutes here, and I tried to kind of decide how I wanted to approach it, whether it was with the idea of Monaco getting a result, Juventus getting a result. In the table, they're both kind of on like the lower portion of the 9 to 24 range, where Monaco getting a win here for sure would put them through, I would imagine. Juventus getting any type of result, I would imagine would probably keep them in that top 24 range. With those two concepts in my head, I do think we could see a situation of Juventus being up in the match, like they're up like 1-0, and Monaco will be chasing a goal late, and I don't think it'll be up to Monaco to decide if they want to push for a win. I think they'll get to a point in this match where they're probably going to have to either be okay with the draw or just be chasing, Juventus's goals here. I know a lot of the predictions I've made so far have been kind of spicy, but this one I do kind of feel a little bit more relaxed based on the total here that I saw, which was 2.5 for 1.73. I mean, most matches are just so much higher than this, so I think the books are kind of guiding me into thinking that, yeah, both teams could score, but it's not obvious like the 1.5s that we've seen already. For Monaco and Juventus, I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. Napoli versus Chelsea is our next match in Champions League final match day. We have Napoli at 3.1, Chelsea at 2.25. We have the both teams to score at 1.67, and then we have the total at 2.5. So they are expecting kind of both teams to score, but also a low scoring match. I was pretty surprised that Napoli were 3.1 to win this match. I don't know if there's some type of lineup news that's coming out. Either way, though, the odds always bake into the account of injuries here. We do have Chelsea's missing players, but I mean, Chelsea have a million players regardless, so they could be missing a lot of guys here, and it doesn't really matter. They have replacements for them all. I guess what was shocking to me, though, is looking at the table, we have Chelsea sitting in 8th, so we know for sure that a win would help them really stay in the top 8. But on the flip side, you have Napoli on the outside looking in, and there's something about Napoli being on the outside of the top 24 at home, final match day against a team like Chelsea. I was leaning draw, like the odds are telling me draw, but for straight prediction standpoint, I really want to back a Napoli winning this match. I know it goes against the odds here, and if you guys have been following my predictions for a while, you know me taking Napoli to win this match is not really of a normal prediction for me. This is a little bit more of the gut, a little bit more of some Napoli bias here. There's no bias I have, but just a little bit of Napoli bias. I'm thinking Italian team at home, absolutely must win this match, and I think they're gonna probably do it. Now, it's tough though. If you had me, I had to make the prediction. I had to make a guess. The draw makes more sense to me, but I'm predicting, man. I'm predicting, and I kind of want to go with the final match day type of crazy prediction here, and I just have this weird feeling that Napoli are not going to get left out. Napoli, Chelsea, I'm going to go with the somewhat crazy prediction here, especially because it's not the idea of Napoli winning, but it's also, I feel like Chelsea will not be scoring. Napoli win 1-0. Paphos versus Slavia Praha is what we have for the next match in the Champions League here. We have Paphos sitting at 2.2, both teams score sitting at 1.67, and the over-under sits about 2.5. It's a very generic type of odds that are set for us. This reminds me a lot of a first leg Champions League qualification type of match, right? If you know, you know, or a Europa League qualification. If you know about the qualifiers back in June, July, August, you know exactly, or not June, but July, August, you know what I'm talking about here. I really just don't want to back anything Slavia Prague related, only because they're both eliminated and Paphos have the tiniest of chance. For all intents and purposes, though, they're out. The amount of help Paphos would need to get through would be crazy, but we're talking about Champions League here, right? Slavia Prague, I'm not going to be like, oh, they're Champions League, they're always in the Champions League, but like they kind of are. Out of like Czech Republic, Slavia Prague basically represents them if they ever get this far. Now, Paphos, who knows when Paphos will be back? Out of Cyprus, we only really ever see Ammonia realistically, so I think this is, or even AEK Larnaca when they play in like Europa League or Conference or wherever. So Paphos being here, Paphos having a chance. I think Paphos at home have been pretty decent overall, right? They have not lost except to Bayern Munich, but like, are we really gonna crucify Paphos for not beating Bayern Munich or even getting a result there? They did score a goal, and for me, scoring a goal against Bayern Munich in the Champions League, pretty good deal for a team like Paphos here. You can kind of understand where I'm going with it. Paphos, Slavia Prague, I want to go with a Paphos win. I'm gonna go with a Paphos win. In my head right this second, I'm trying to decide if I'm gonna give Slavia Prague a goal, and I think I will. It's their final Champions League match day as well, but I'm more leaning Paphos result, right? If you can do anything with Paphos result, Paphos getting a win or a draw, I like that way more here, especially at home. For the exact score, Paphos, Slavia Prague, I'm gonna go with a 2-1 Paphos win. PSG versus Newcastle is the next match here. We have a lot of important matches on the final match day, right? We have teams trying to get in the top 8, teams trying to stay in the top 8, teams trying to get in the top 24, teams trying to stay in the top 24, and then we have PSG and Newcastle, right? PSG is 1.53 on the 1x2, Newcastle's 5.5 on the the 1x2, the draw being at 4.5. Both teams' score is 1.62. The over-under sits right at about 3.5, which can help us kind of understand that we're not going to be going crazy here, at least not by the book standard, but we should be seeing possibly, 2 to 4 goals, probably more realistically 3 to 4 goals here. In my opinion, though, this match is probably the most important one because it really just sets the table for a lot of other teams, right? The winner in this match is gonna qualify in top 8 for sure. The loser's match probably doesn't get top 8, right? Just depending on how everything else goes here. I know from a mathematical standpoint, people probably know, but I haven't looked at any of those videos that tell you, oh, if this happens and this happens, I'll do that tomorrow. I want to get this video out with correct score predictions based on the odds here. So this is what so if you hear an error in the video, it's probably because I didn't do any of those mathematical researches for oh, if this team wins and they have a whatever. We're just gonna go with what the books tell us, right? Because the books know more than us. That's the end of the story here. I do think PSG win this match, right? Now, for the exact score and how I want to approach the match, it's a bit tough, right? Because we look at Newcastle's away form in Champions League, we see they drew Leverkusen, they lost to Marseille, and then they also beat USG. So USG, Marseille, Leverkusen, kind of decent teams, nothing too crazy. They're facing one of the, one of the better teams you'd say in the French league, and they did not beat them, right? They lost them 2-1. And I think I'm kind of going off of that idea a little bit, right? How Marseille played against Newcastle in France. Maybe Newcastle struggled a little bit, but I think you have this type of carrot here. You have a carrot in front of PSG of telling them you win, you're top 8. And I don't think PSG are going to BS around this match. I think they're going to go full throttle for it. And I do think PSG win, and I think Newcastle will score too. So for the correct score here, PSG Newcastle, I'm going to go with a 3-1 PSG win. Next, we have PSV and Bayern Munich. And I don't think we're going to find too many times where we're going to see Bayern Munich above 1.5 odd here. We got them at 1.6 away from home. And I think it's because PSV absolutely have to push everything to get this win here. And Bayern Munich are sitting already qualified as top 8. But I think realistically for Bayern Munich here, they don't need to win. This is the first team I think confidently could say don't need to win, but it's Bayern Munich. Again, there is no switch that you can turn off in these professional footballers' minds where they're just going to not try to win the match. So I do think they're going to try to push for the win still, but I think PSV at home is also going to go absolutely crazy here. And we have seen PSV, they have shown up even away from home against a Liverpool team that may have been out of form, but still pretty solid there. But PSV at home in the Champions League, we've seen them lose to Atletico Madrid, which is very disappointing. They destroyed Napoli, which is very impressive, and they lost to USG. Now, this USG game, it was a bit ago where I'm going to not try to hold that against them too much, but they have 2 L's at home and they have a nice win against Napoli. I think where I wanted to go with this match was we did see both teams to score as low as it could possibly be. 1.4 for both teams to score pregame is as low as it gets, honestly. The over-under sits at about 4, and I think I have trouble deciding for myself that people are going to use Bayern Munich 1.6 money line as a parlay booster, as a very confident prediction. You're going to hear people maybe on TikTok, maybe on Twitter, they're going to tell you that getting Bayern Munich at 1.6 is such excellent value. And I mean, if you're listening to me now, I'm going to tell you to your face, I don't think it's great value. I think what would be great value is taking Bayern Munich if PSV score first. The odds imply that PSV can get a result here. I do personally think that if you want to back Bayern Munich, you can do it. I can understand why you'd want to do it, but I think for the sake of the prediction, for the sake of how these type of big UCL matches go, I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw. I don't know for sure if the draw is the most wise prediction here. Going against Bayern Munich is very scary, but there's something to me there's something telling me that Bayern Munich is not going to just go easily waltz into Eindhoven and just get a nice clean win. If that's the case, GG to the people who take Bayern Munich, and I apologize in advance, but I'm going to have to put, my brain on the line here, and I'm going to have to go with just some type of PSV result. If PSV win, everything that I've said was correct then. Even though I'm taking 2-2 draw, it's just I think it's too risky, for a prediction standpoint to take PSV to win this match. My entire basis though is that I don't think PSV lose this match. I think that 1.6 ML, depending on how it closes, right? Depending on where Bayern Munich are on the 1x2 right before kickoff would kind of dictate it. For example, if Bayern Munich dropped to 1.4 or lower, I would say, okay, forget what I said about PSV getting the result. But if they stay at 1.6 or if they're higher than that, I think PSV are getting the result here. So PSV, Bayern Munich, 2-2 draw. And finally, 17 matches later, we have Union Saint-Gilloise and Atalanta here. I think the first thing that I found very interesting here is that Atalanta's 2.15 to win this match. And I say that because they are still in, 13th place here. And I find it to be crazy because another win could secure them a top 8 possibly. USG are on the outside looking in, 9 points maybe gets them in, very slim chance either way. So maybe maybe that's why that the odds are kind of the way they are, because I would have thought Atalanta away from home here would have been maybe like a 1.85, but 2.15 makes me feel like they think USG can get the result here. Over under sets at about 3, and the both teams score sets at 1.57. So I think with the total and the odds, it makes me want to predict a 1-1. Now, if you ask me who do you think wins the match, but you can't pick a draw, I would say Atalanta, right? But something about this line, this Atalanta line, is just not making me want to predict Atalanta here. I'm also still very upset that they lost to Bilbao. I don't want to get into my own agendas, my own biases here, but I was weirdly confident Atalanta was going to beat Bilbao, and they didn't get that done. So I think just because they're they're looking for top 8, that doesn't mean they just win this match. I think USG is going to put on a maybe somewhat of a decent performance here to get just get any type of points in this match. So even with USG pushing, I could see Atalanta either equalizing late or USG equalizing late for the draw. But USG Atalanta, I'm going with a 1-1 draw, but I'm just more thinking that, like, I can't just see either team winning this match just the way the odds are presented to me and what we know is at stake here. So 1-1 draw. Let's hope that comes in. All right, boys, that wraps up the predictions for Champions League final match day. I really appreciate everybody who watched the entire video. If you've liked, if you've commented, and please do not forget, subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to me, helps me push out these videos. I was gonna set a like goal for this video, but I mean, it's pretty close to the match, so I won't do that. But I do plan on doing knockout playoff predictions for Champions League, so make sure you are subscribed to get that. I might do Europa League, but you guys are gonna have to mention that in the comments, right? So if anybody mentions in the comments, please do Europa League. I'll fire that up tomorrow early morning before the live stream on Twitch. But appreciate you guys again. I will catch you on the next one.